All right, so welcome to the Whole Life Living TV network, a show that explores simple ways to live life at your highest potential through the latest outstanding topics, advice, and positive news from a healthy, happier, more loving, conscious mindset with internationally known guests and everyday people taking belief and sharing simple ways to apply it towards mastering your dreams and life. I'm your host, Sherry Gideons, and I'm happy to be here. I'm an international speaker, author, and life mastery coach, helping you to clarify what you want in life so that you can win and succeed. Right? WholeLifeLiving.com for upcoming guests and anything you want to know about how to take happiness and really create that day by day in your life by living in the now and being in the now. Today, our guest is Anil Gupta. He's a best-selling author, international speaker, and happiness expert. What better way to go along with the Whole Life Living show? He's a popular speaker teaching how to bring joy, happiness, peace, and fulfillment to our everyday lives. Anil has been personally trained by Tony Robbins and has over 24 years of experience as a personal empowerment coach and a unique ability to get to the heart of the matter in a very short time. Anil, thank you for joining us. I've really been looking forward to this.
Yeah, thank you for having me on the show. I mean, I'm here to serve. What can I do? Group of people.
Well, you know what? Today, I really want to share about you and what you're offering. And if you could share a little bit about your background with us, tell us more about that so we can really get to know you better.
So I trained as a doctor of optometry in London. And then in 2002, my wife attended a Tony Robbins event. And she came back saying, "Oh, honey, we have to move. We have to move." And I really wasn't having any of it because, I was comfortable. And this is one of the problems that we face as human beings. We love to be comfortable, and we love to be comfortable about being comfortable. And what we have to learn is to be comfortable about being uncomfortable and being uncomfortable about being comfortable. So I realized it was the right thing to do, but I didn't want to do it. But then I thought to myself, what's the best thing for my kids? And then it was a no-brainer. So from there, we moved here. We had to start a new business. And then 2008 hit us, and I was very badly affected. In fact, I was on the verge of suicide. I don't know if you know that.
Wow, no, I didn't know that.
And I wouldn't eat with a knife or hold a pen even like this, just in case, I did something stupid or did something stupid here, whatever. I wouldn't walk a flight of stairs. I wouldn't walk in the street just in case. All it needs is 10 seconds of craziness. And that's when I realized that people think knowledge is power, but it's not. People think that if you have the knowledge, you have the power, but you don't. You only have the power once you implement.
Wow. So tell us a little more. So you were on the verge of suicide. I mean, what was going on in your head? I mean, that you were at this point, and obviously a lot of us face these sorts of things in our lives.
Yeah, I mean, I was gambling on the stock market. Everything went wrong there. I had property. And I just didn't see a way out. I was suffering. I couldn't see that there was a way out. My identity was about what I'd lost. I was focusing on what I'd lost. I thought that I was a bad husband, a bad father, a bad son. That people would be happier without me.
What would you say that your happiness, I like to say vibrational reader meter, but what was your happiness vibrational reader meter at that point?
Oh, it was terrible. It's like 0, very low. Maybe, at 100. I mean, I've developed something called my happiness score. We find out how happy you are on a numerical scale. If I did that test, it would be like 20, 22, something like that. Very, very low.
So what would you say from one side to another, happiness versus not happy? How would you scale that?
But I missed the first bit of the question. Could you repeat that?
Well, I was asking so that our listeners can understand a little bit. You mentioned that you have a happiness scale or happiness score. How, so people can better understand what you mean by that, from what end to the other, would negativity or struggle or pain versus happiness? How would you register that?
Really, and can I share the website address? Yeah, it's
Sure.
myhappinessscore.com. And when you do the test, you not only get a numerical score, but you get areas of your life that you need to work on. So if you get any red areas of your life that you need to work on, that tells you that there's something wrong in that area of your life. And once you start working on that area of your life, everything else will start to change.
Oh, I love it. I'm going to have to do it because I love the thought of doing it because I know for myself, that I've gotten to this place where I look at, like I said, what's happening within my vibrational field, and I'm able more to be able to determine what kind of choices and decisions I'm making in the day, based on what's showing up in front of me.
Yeah.
So this is new.
It all comes from awareness. You cannot be joyful. You cannot be fulfilled. You cannot be in love. You cannot be successful without awareness. So by doing this test, you suddenly get a greater level of awareness in areas of your life you need to work on, and that gives you clarity, and clarity is power.
Mm-hmm. So going back to where you are, in 2008, for example, was it that experience that really set the tone for you initially, wanting to move in the direction of finding out, how to master your life? Where was happiness? I mean, did you have to be medically, did you have to be put in the hospital and work with a psychiatrist?
No, I really didn't feel, believe it or not, depressed. I just felt
Mm-hmm.
and to me, that's the worst thing possible. So, my identity was around success, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm a strong believer in experiential. If you experience things, you get to feel, and when you get to feel, it goes inside you. So I remember having to tell my wife, honey, look, I've lost everything. And she said, no, honey, you haven't. I said, what are you talking about? She said, look, you still have me, you still have the kids, and we'll sleep if we have to, as long as we're with you. I wasn't expecting that. Then all of a sudden I thought, oh, I haven't lost it all. And I experienced something. And then I started to give. In the moment you give, the pain disappears. As long as it's genuine giving. And then I felt something. I felt, oh, I'm not in pain anymore. I'm not suffering. I'm not in this bad place. Then I started to give more. Then I started to help. And I started to do this. Then I thought, this is very interesting. I knew what to do, but knowing what to do and doing it. It's like, having weight loss. Wanting to lose weight.
Right.
But you don't do it. So having that knowledge is not good enough. It's the implementation.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I know for myself, I too had an adverse experience in my life that very much set me on a path of moving in the direction of, inner self-awareness. And mine happened to be a near-death experience. And I had the trip to the white light and was shown first my life over. So I actually got to review everything I had given in life, but I relived it through as if I was within the person. So I actually got to feel the feeling that they felt as a result of what I gave, whether it was good or bad, or I talked behind people's backs, or I gave joy or love. And, for myself, then I was told I was being shown that which I had not yet finished. And I was shown the many potentials that I had come in this lifetime to potentially fulfill. And I was given time to rest. And, there's a lot in my story, but the point is that when I came back into the body, I had this awareness, but then I didn't realize I wasn't shown or told when. And so I went through, many adverse experiences. Walking homeless on the streets, gaining 100 pounds, being laughed at, vilified, spit upon, called crazy, all because I wanted to be that woman that I had been given the glimpse into her and her beingness, her love, her caring. But, that was what really set the stage for me to want to look and seek and, find out how to be this woman. And that's why I was asking you, do you think that as human beings, we have to be faced with some adverse experience to seek happiness and joy and fulfillment?
No, as human beings, we think we're seeking happiness, but we're really not.
Mm-hmm.
This is the big thing, that once you realize there's not happiness that we're seeking, but we're seeking something else. And what we're seeking is fulfillment. Mm-hmm. And I've developed a simple formula. Here, I'll show you.
Yeah, please.
See that?
Scoop back just a little. Oops. There you go. There you go. Okay, move over to the left a little. All right. Happiness formula, H equals G3. Ask me how. Okay, how?
Okay, so H equals G cubed. So the first G is you have to give. Give your time, your energy, your love, your commitment, your joy, your gift, your money, happiness. Give whatever you have away without wanting anything in return. The second G is you have to be grateful. Be grateful for what you have and don't focus on what you don't have. And the third G is you have to grow emotionally, physically, spiritually, and mentally. Okay? Now, adversity makes you grow very rapidly. Mm-hmm. So it's not that you have to go through adversity, but we all do.
Right.
And I'll tell you, and I'll explain to you, this is so easy. When you're 1 year old, what's the biggest adversity you have to overcome?
I guess being fed, getting food in our belly.
That's never an issue. But
okay.
A 1 year old, the biggest adversity is able to walk.
Ah, yes.
You don't sort of try once and say, oh my God, that's too hard, I'm going to give up. No, mm-hmm. You carry on.
Right.
At 2, it's like speaking, and then it's 3. Yep. So we have these milestones.
Yes.
If we didn't have those adversities, and this is what happens in nature, nature throws adversities at people so that they can grow. And animals and, nature itself. So the adversity will make you grow. Grateful, gratitude, grow, and giving. 3 G's. If at any time you look at your life and say, which is the lowest G? Mm-hmm. And then if you focus on the lowest G. So can we do a little thing with you?
Yes, let's do it.
Look at the 3 G's, which is the lowest one for you. And when I say lowest one, it doesn't mean that it has to be very low. It could be a 98, 99, and 100, but one is always lower than the rest. So which is your lowest G at the moment?
Probably, say the second one more time.
Give, grow, gratitude.
Okay. I would say gratitude right now, because I really, really have been pushing to manifest some certain things.
Okay. So give me 5 things you're grateful for.
I'm grateful to finally love myself for who I am. I'm definitely grateful for my children. I'm grateful for the amazing friends and the people who support me, that surround me. I'm grateful to be conscious and aware that I create my own reality and that I can make certain decisions, anytime. And I am grateful for you being on the show today and sharing this with me.
Okay. Now, if I said to you, give me 50 things.
50 things.
Would you struggle?
Yeah, well, I would probably definitely struggle around 30.
Okay, good. So that's your limit, you see?
Uh-huh.
And it's just the muscle that you've developed. Your muscle is around 30. Okay, so look at your hands.
Okay.
When was the last time you said thank you to your hands?
I haven't.
Look what they've done for you.
Yes.
They've groomed you, they've cleaned you, they've combed your hair, they put your makeup on, they caressed your babies when they were born, they gave your babies love, fed your babies, cleaned your babies, clothed your babies.
Wow, and so just that one simple example makes me think of even, my feet and my toes. you know, and all the parts of my body that support me every day.
It's so powerful because we take our feet for granted. Imagine that you had a disease and you lost a foot. You'd be very upset. We just take so much for granted. And I'll explain to you today. I took some supplements today, and it was a powder, and I should have taken 3 milligrams, and I took 3 grams.
Oh no!
Like 1,000 times, and I'm feeling the effects. But because I'm focusing on you, the effects are being hidden. But it's so powerful. Once you focus on someone else, once you start serving, the pain disappears.
You know, that's so true because, you know, one of the things for myself is I'm around people every day. And I find that, you know, what I found in discovering Sherry is that my gift is to talk. My gift is to communicate and to laugh and, you know, just share stories. And so I'm around people every day, and I could be standing in a line at a grocery store, or I could be at a gas station. And I always feel this sense to, you know, spark up a conversation with someone. And before I know it, I'm holding a conversation with somebody where I'm giving, just sharing. You know, what I find a lot too, Anil, is that I'm looking for the beauty in the other person that's shining out. So I'll pick up on that, you know, and I'll start saying it to these people. And then you just watch the whole shift in vibration just from noticing the unique and specialness of another person and sharing that with them.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
You have no idea what impact you have on another person's life. They may be on the verge of suicide. They may be on the verge of doing something stupid. And by you just touching them in that moment, could have saved their lives, could have saved their marriage, could have saved their relationships.
Wow. So, you know, using, you know, the topic that we're really delving in today, mastering your life by mastering you, how would one get started on mastering themselves? Is there a formula, ingredients, or recipe, a process with which we would start to, you know, seek in ourselves?
Well, really, it's using that H equals G cubed. So the first thing is start giving. Okay? Giving your time, your energy, your love, your gift, your time. You know, go to someone and help them in some way, and also, you know, perform random acts of kindness. So here's some homework for your listeners: perform 5 random acts of kindness. One would be opening the door for someone, buying someone coffee, acknowledging someone, thanking someone. You know, your waiter, waitress, someone at the coffee shop. But do it without wanting anything in return. Just give. Okay, and that's a muscle. The second thing is you could call someone and say, "Hey, I'm so grateful that you're in my life. I'm so grateful you did this for me. I'm so grateful that I can share many magical moments with you." And the third one is grow. You know, work on growing emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally. And it's so simple, Sherry. It's so simple that that's all you have to do.
I love it, how much in alignment this is with the message that I received when I was watching myself come back into my body. The last thing that was said to me was, and you must help the world to understand that they must give of themselves freely without expecting, and love is all there is. And interestingly enough, you know, before I walked homeless on the streets, you know, I thought that meant I needed to give all my possessions away. And, you know, part of my growth was I was homeless on Venice Beach. And I was meeting people all of the time. And you talk about giving. I've seen this happen firsthand in my life. You know, I went through the system. Eventually, I got off the street and I got help from the system. But at one point, I had $30 worth of food stamps. And I saw this woman walking by me with a grocery cart. And she was obviously another homeless woman. And, you know, $30 was all I had, Anil. And, you know, one would think, who in their right mind who only has $30 left is going to give this woman her last $30? But I'm serious. I heard in my head to give this woman the $30, and I did. And do you know that $300 came back to me that later that day?
Yeah. These are all rules of the universe. It's nothing new. It's nothing that hasn't been there for millions of years. They're just rules of the universe. You cannot fight it. You cannot distinguish it from any other rule. It's a rule. It's a rule. It's a rule. It's simple. Yeah.
I hear this all the time, even with my own clients, and we're walking them through different steps, and they say, this stuff is too hard. And, and then another question, I ask a lot of my guests is, do you think that a person has to get to the root cause of what their issues are or the past in order to really master, being more focused in the moment and finding more happiness?
I don't like to delve into the past. I don't like to dig stuff up.
Right.
That there is, in the coaching that I've done, there is one major trait that will give you that freedom, and that's forgiveness. Forgiveness is the express pathway to freedom. The quality of your life is dependent on the quality and depth and authenticity of the forgiveness that you're able to extend. You cannot be fulfilled, you cannot be joyous without that forgiveness. Sometimes it's forgiving yourself, someone, or something.
It's interesting that you're saying that because, I have a company called Expanded Woman. And originally when I started the company, people were like, what, are we fat people? Is it fat women? Is it big women? What is it? And, I had the idea for it came from my own personal growth. And it was about how I had, continued to expand over the last 20 years into a greater, grander idea of myself. And so what I discovered from, when I started to ask myself that question, because one of the things that, one of my mentors says, the quality of questions you ask yourself determines the quality of life you live. So I began to ask, that's Mary Morrissey, by the way, and Bob Proctor. By the way, Anil and I did a photo shoot with Bob Proctor when we were at Secret Knock 2 years ago. Yeah. But the point I wanted to make about that is I really began to ask, what is the representation of expanded woman? And what I came up with is it's expanding expression for excellence. And it's being in the moment with my highest self, aligned with my highest self, allowing my highest self to live, breathe, and have its beingness through me. And the how is none of my business. Everything begins to show up in the moment that is a mirror representation of the beauty of me, of who I truly am on the inside. And that expression is available to all of us, and it's continually happening within each of us. Don't you agree?
It is, and that's where the growth, awareness, giving, and growing, everything happens. And it happens in conjunction with everything else. So it's a freely dynamic thing. You're not just giving, but by the moment you're giving, you're growing. And by the moment you're giving, you're being grateful. So everything is dynamic. So if you choose one thing, all three things are enclosed with it. So that, if you lift one, it'll lift everything up.
Does this require a certain amount of focus every single day in order to be in this place that you're talking about?
Well, it's really awareness. Awareness is the master discipline. Awareness gives you clarity. Clarity gives you focus. Focus gives you action, and action gives you results. And ultimately, we're all looking for this fulfillment. But it's like if you wanted to lift a 20-pound weight, at first it's hard, then it becomes easy. So then as you start doing this stuff, it becomes second nature. And then you get to a high level. Your capacity to love and be loved will increase. Your capacity to be more communicative will increase. And then it just gets easier and easier and easier. And it's really just a muscle. You just have to start writing. You just have to start doing something that you love, whatever it is, whether you like writing or reading, whatever you love to do, just do it.
So you talk, I hear the different things that I don't know if you've heard about Abraham or what have you. One of the things that, Abraham talks about is setting a daily intention right in the morning when you wake up and really connecting with the feeling of that daily intention first thing. Would you say that is something, I guess when you say building the muscle, would that be something we would start with every single day?
I absolutely, and I would, if I could give some guidance to the listeners,
Please.
I would recommend a ritual. So a ritual, yeah, it sounds religious, but it's not. It's just a planned way to do things. So a ritual that we have in the morning is to brush our teeth. It's a habit. Basically, it's a habit. So if you looked at yourself in the mirror and said to yourself, okay, so let me do it now. You know, you're kind, you're generous, you're playful, you're going to touch people's lives, you're strong, you're giving, you're happy, you're joyful, you have a special gift, you can change people's lives. It's a duty to share your gift. So go out and play and make a difference. Okay? So something like that. And we already have rituals saying, oh, it's a bad day, I didn't want to get up. And that's a ritual. So if you replace that bad ritual with a good ritual, magical stuff will start happening.
Oh, I absolutely love it. And that's the thing that I was going to really speak to earlier is that we're working now with healthcare professionals. Because one of the things that I didn't mention is, so I've had 2 near-death experiences. I had a second one delivering twins right before 40. And they came back, they said I was going to die in 6 months without a heart transplant.
Wow.
And so you talking about rituals, rather than connect or focus on the idea of fear, or what I call dis-ease in the body, what I did was I connected to the idea of happiness, the idea of joy, and the idea of fulfillment, but from a feeling place. So I went into my imagination and I would feel my heart pumping perfectly. And I would feel the happiness of my arteries flowing with blood. And even with conversations with people, when you talk about strengthening the muscle, people wanted to naturally talk to me about what I was going to do, and was I planning my will, and those sorts of things, when in reality I would steer the conversation towards fun and happiness and joy, and like you said, affirming that I'm living in my highest capacity, that everything in my body is functioning perfectly. Anything that is not in alignment with a whole perfect and complete body is removed and eradicated. And I would have these conversations with people, and I would tell them I do this daily ritual every single day of connecting with the idea of wholeness.
It's so powerful. I mean, we have no idea the impact this has on our health.
And I healed to 100%. But the struggle with my doctor is that my doctor, he says, listen, we need to look at this realistically. He says, I'm a believer in positivity. He says, but you've got 30% heart function. He says, you know what? You need a transplant. And, and I was always, very silly and playful. And I would say to him, you know what? I'm going to outweigh the odds. I'm going to persevere. I'm going to show what, happiness and joy is about by being this silly, cute little giddy girl that I am, and he at first I think was annoyed with me. But over time, as I began to share that part of myself with him, him being a physician in the healthcare industry, you know what he said to me? He says, Sherry, he says, I don't normally tell this to my patients. He says, because my patients aren't ready to receive this kind of information. And he says, when I said, let's look at this realistically, he says, I'm a trained doctor who's taught to look at, the symptom. And that's the thing that, I'm finding, with our healthcare professionals as well, and just people in general, when you talk about how do we get this kind of information out to them more from a place they don't think it's airy-fairy.
It's very hard. And I bet you when you went back to the doctor and you told him, look, I'm healed, he didn't ask you, what did you do? Let me see what I can do to implement this. Coming from a medical background, the biggest mistake we do and we make is that we study disease. As medical students, we should be studying health. What do healthy people do? What are the rituals that healthy people do? What do they eat? What do they think? What do they do during the day? We need to study health, not disease.
I love you said that because, knowing that you trained with, Tony Robbins, I remember in, the 80s when I was following him, one of the biggest things that stood out for me is he said, surround yourself, with people who've done what you want to do, and you're going to get there a lot quicker,
Yeah, absolutely. You are who you spend time with.
Yeah, yeah. So share more with us about, the formula of, really mastering our lives. I mean, so we're moving forward throughout the day. Okay, we set the intention for happiness. We're affirming the different areas of happiness in our lives or how we see ourselves and giving more. And something shows up, a challenge, a struggle, an experience of negativity, and obviously we attach and respond from that. How can we change that in the moment by following these steps you're talking about?
Well, as supposing if you bought a brand new Tesla,
Mm-hmm.
and it broke down on the way from the garage, would you know what to do?
No, I wouldn't.
But if they spent a day with you teaching you how it worked, and then it broke down, you'd have more power and say, you know what, I think I know what it is. Yeah?
Right, of course.
With human beings, we're not given a manual. So let me give your listeners some very powerful parts to this manual. So the first one is, as human beings, we make meaning behind everything. So, for example, if I call my wife and she doesn't call me back, I make it mean she doesn't love me, she doesn't care for me, she doesn't respect me, she doesn't honor me. Then I build a whole story around it.
Right.
And actually what happened was she didn't return my call. That's it. Her battery died or something happened.
Mm-hmm.
She had a very busy day, or she put it on vibrate and forgot, or she had to, whatever, okay? So that's the first thing. If something happens during the day and you get upset, ask yourself, what did I make it mean? What really happened? What do I need to let go of? And it's normally control, okay? The second part of the manual would be something like expectations. As human beings, we have an expectation. We expect our children to behave in a certain way, our boss, our employees. We expect a train to be on time. We expect no traffic. So when you have these expectations, it will always lead to an upset. The secret is to have as a minimal amount of expectations as possible. And if you're getting upset, ask yourself, why am I upset? What was the expectation I had? Oh, and why was it not met? And what can I let go of? And is it that important? Okay. So again, you need to build that muscle. You have to practice. Find yourself, why am I getting upset? Are you responding or are you reacting? The reaction is always not always the wrong one, but it's always going to be very heated, and it may not be the best solution, but a response is always thought out. So it's really very powerful. So, and the other part of the manual is not what you say, it's how you say it.
Right.
So, for example, I would always leave the toothpaste lid off the tube, and my wife would get upset, and obviously I would do it deliberately because I could, I would get a reaction. But this is what she said to me one day. Honey, every time you do that, I lose some love for you.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
We have no idea when we don't look after our spouses, our children, the impact in that moment it has on them. In the moment you're being mean to your child, they cannot love you. In the moment you say something strong to someone that you love, they cannot love you in that moment. It's so powerful. Yeah, we would say, I would do anything for you. These are simple tools, and ask yourself, what am I grateful for? What can I do to grow in this moment? What can I give? Let me just see what else is in here. Okay, so okay, here's one of the commonest parts of my coaching is this. is that people are so concerned about what other people think of them.
Yes.
But let me give you one sentence that will completely change people's lives. Okay, if you can, write this down, everybody, or watch this video again.
Yes,
What other people think of you is none of your business. That's it. I remember doing an 8-hour seminar and asked one of my students, what was the best part of the event? He said, Anil, one sentence. I said, you've got to be kidding me. I've given you 8 hours of solid content. And he said, one sentence. I said, Anil, you have no idea. What other people think of me is none of my business. And that released him and gave him that freedom to be himself.
Wow, that's awesome. And what's so funny is that's literally so true, because I use that quite a bit, and I put it in the chat. But I use that quite a bit around. I was in the pro bodybuilding industry, and so much of my life, evolved around trying to meet up to this idea of perfectionism. Well, and I thought it was too, because I wanted people to love and accept me for who I was. I thought that if people liked me, that would be the true. The true representation of happiness and fulfillment for me. And then obviously it ended up being my own self-destruction, because I cared so deeply about what people thought about me.
Yeah, it's very powerful. So let me give you some more. If you change your definition, you change your life. So if you tell me what your definition of success is.
My definition of success is joy, happiness, freedom of movement, and fulfillment in myself. That is now my definition of success.
Okay. Now I'm going to give you a different definition, and if you take this on, I promise you, you'll feel more successful.
Okay.
Okay. So if you take on success equals making progress.
Okay.
Okay, if you make progress, imagine this 1-year-old making progress to learn to walk and learn to talk. That's huge progress.
Oh, yeah.
So that takes the pressure off. So success equals making progress.
Right.
Try it and see how you feel. Another definition people have is, what is love? And again, they say, oh, it's unconditional, it's this, and loving someone so deeply, and blah, blah, blah. But if you take this definition on, love is acceptance. If you accept the other person, as they are, that's pure love. That's pure acceptance. When a baby's born, aren't we so much in love with that baby? To others, it may not be the prettiest baby in the world, but to us, it's the most beautiful baby in the world. So if you change your definition of something, you change your world.
Isn't that so interesting too? Because, you talk to people all the time, and their perception can be so focused on judging another person, whether it be for the way they look, the way they talk, the line of business they're in, and their perception is so geared towards, their own internal judgment that, most people have absolutely no, they're not conscious of it. And then secondly, not even to understand, just like the tools you're speaking here, to, look at an individual with love, or from a totally different perspective.
Sure, I just have to warn you, I've only got like 8 minutes left. I'm speaking on Richard Branson's Island at 5 o'clock.
Awesome, spectacular.
But okay, so imagine you had $100 note. How much would that $100 note be worth?
$100.
Okay, if you said to that $100 note, you're not worthy, how much would it be worth?
Nothing.
Interesting. I want you to think about that for a few seconds.
Yeah.
Why did you say nothing?
Because if I'm telling it it's not worthy, then my perception of it is that it's zero, that it's not worthy. Okay.
So how much is that $100 worth?
Well, now that I'm aware of it, it's worth $100. It's, what I say it is.
Well, it's not what you say it is. It's what it is.
It's what it is. Yes.
And if you stepped on it, spat on it, and said you're a failure, you're no good, you shouldn't be here, it's still worth $100.
It's still worth $100.
But this is something that's so powerful. People cry when we explain this to them. Imagine you are that $100 note. No matter what anyone says to you, no matter what happens to you, your value will always remain the same. No one can take away your worthiness away from you.
Right, right.
Kids, we need to teach this to kids.
Oh, yeah, we do. Absolutely.
And I've got a video, it's got like 50,000 views, where in 1 minute, 38 seconds, I'll explain to them with an actual note. If you want, I can send that to you and then you can share it.
Oh, I would love it. I mean, that's what I was going to ask you. I mean, just really based on all these principles that you've been sharing with us here today, you know, and knowing where you came from in that place of awareness. I mean, what is this place of happiness and awareness for you today, and where are you going from here?
For me, it's just my mission is to move, touch, and inspire as many people as I can. I'm moving a lot of movers and shakers. I'm talking to them and asking them to help about the message that we can help people. I have a book. It's called Immediate Happiness, and it's on Audible as well. It's just been released on Audible. It's on Kindle. There's a lot of free content on my website. I'm really about getting content out there, because that's the way I get my rewards. And this is how I measure a man's wealth. A man is wealthy when you see what he has left, when you take away all his possessions. How kind is he? How generous is he? How giving is he? How loving is he? How playful is he? How honest is he? How authentic is he? So wealth has got nothing to do with money. It's about what you have left. So if you want to become a billionaire, just become more giving, more playful, more joyful. And stop using the US dollar as your source of wealth. Using what you have, what you can give, how you can grow. That is how rich you are.
Wow, what an amazing message and an amazing mission. And I'm so grateful to have crossed paths with you in my own life, and to really be a part of your mission. I mean, to really feel in complete alignment with what you just said, and to know from my heart that that too is part of my mission, to, you know, inspire and motivate people to really live the gift that they are, to live these extraordinary lives that they are worthy and deserving of living.
And if you go on my Instagram, it's Immediate Happiness, you'll find hundreds of beautiful memes, very inspirational, beautiful stuff.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, I know that you have just a short time left with us here, so go ahead and share with us any information that you want to leave us with, a way to reach you once again on your website, and also one more thing, give us that that test that, you know, that our listeners can go on and test their happiness score.
The test site is myhappinessscore.com. My website is immediatehappiness.com. And if you have a personal issue and you've been struggling with it, I can help you. In a short space of time, we can remove that issue for you. So if you need any one-to-one help, there is a page on the website that you can contact me. It's my book is on audible.com and it's on Kindle. It's also available in Spanish if you need it in Spanish. It's a very practical book. It's a very powerful book. It gives you exercises. It's written from the heart, and really it shows you how human beings work. When you work out how human beings work, you can work out how life works, and then you can take charge of life instead of life taking charge of you.
Wow, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being, you know, taking your time and being with us here today. I really appreciate it. And for those of you who are listening in, if you want to know more about the Whole Life Living Show, you can visit wholelifeliving.com for Anil's page and his replay of this interview, so you can really, really receive the information that he shared with us today, this amazing, valuable information of immediate happiness and being happy now. So once again, thank you so much for joining us today, Anil, and I look forward to speaking with you again soon.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. You have a great day. And
Take
thank you all my listeners.
All right.
Join us for next week's show, and I look forward to talking to you then. Bye-bye now.